ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविज्ञानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे. All right, so we are coming towards the end. This should have been day 10 according to the plan, the program, but because I was not available for one day, today is day 9, so which means we will complete this webinar next weekend. Saturday will be day 10, and there will be another session on Sunday, which would be like you can say a logical extension of the webinar, which we can talk about next weekend. All right, so let me share the slides, and we can make a beginning. We have nicely covered a lot of universal principles of spirituality, and very well practiced and understood through Sanatana Dharma. And among them, the more important ones we have covered. When I say more important ones, because some of them are covered in other forms of webinars, like for instance, the Swaswarupa Parijnanam, knowing about myself, is discover yourself, a module, and the concept of Sat or truth, and the extension of it, how do we apply it in our lives, is another module called Discover Your Inner Potential. So beyond that, we looked at Nishkama Karma, Sthita Prajnata, Swadharma, and then Nishchaya Buddhi. We also looked at Samadrishti, and what was the previous one? Yeah, of course, the concept of immortality, Shashvata, and Nirbhaya as a result of that. And also Kshama, the forbearance. We looked at the story of the 100 daughters of the king who, what was the name? Kushanaba's 100 daughters. So now that we have had a good look and also gone through some case scenarios, I think it's natural to now look at how do we practice Sanatana Dharma, and what are those four effective, what are the four pillars of effective practice. Among them, one is Satsanga, which we have already covered, and the other three will be covered today: Purusharthas, Grihastha and Ashtanga Yoga. There won't be any extensive review of Ashtanga Yoga. It is not my area of expertise either, but I can understand the value of it, and therefore should be practiced by all of us, whether it is in the form of meditation, Raja Yoga, or whether it is in the form of other forms of yoga. It could be Karma Yoga, or it could be Jnana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. So having gone through Satsanga, now we will touch upon Grihastha Ashrama. As you would all know, you're all experts, I'm sure. There are 4 stages: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. And among those, we will only be talking about Grihastha Ashrama today, mainly because 90% of us are Grihasthas, and therefore we have to balance material life along with spiritual life. And hence, it is important that we touch upon Grihastha particularly, while the rest are relevant in their own form, but perhaps not to be touched upon today. Before we understand Grihastha, or perhaps one way to understand Grihastha Dharma is through the story of Devahuti and Kardama. Kardama and Devahuti can be considered as an ideal couple who have led Grihastha Dharma and showed us the way, showed the humans the way one should lead Grihastha Ashrama. So it begins after marriage. It gives guidance on how we should lead our marital life, householders' responsibilities, towards self, family, and society. And moksha is the goal for that. Kardama was one of the sons of Brahma, and Brahma instructed him to create progeny, for which he does intense tapas to seek help from Narayana, the Parabrahman. When Narayana manifests, Kardama makes an unusual request to grant him a woman in marriage so that the couple can produce progeny. Why was it an unusual request? They were capable of creating progeny as Manasaputras through just the the mental kind of process of it. And that's how Kardama was born, at least, not through a biological process. Kardama was not born out of a biological process. But Kardama has taken it upon him that let this be the beginning of how biological reproduction should manifest, and also possibly pave a way for the humans to formalize or institutionalize a relationship between wife and a husband, or a man and a woman. And therefore there can be that institute of marriage can bring in the nice balance between the material requirements as well as the spiritual quest, because as it goes without saying that in Sanatana Dharma, moksha is the goal always. It can't be stressed it doesn't need to be stated every time. It is understood. Any form of any walk of life or any shastra that you take, even if you take poetry for that matter, a lot of reference is made to the understanding of moksha. So being fully aware of the Maya trap that he may enter into, he also requests Narayana to grant him the wisdom to constantly be in pursuit of moksha. Because once he is married and once he is enjoying the pleasures of human life, and also kind of caught in the kind of problems that one may face, the complications, that is all Maya, isn't it? So he makes a request that he should not ever be out of the path of pursuit of moksha. And thereafter, of course, Narayana also kind of grants him another boon, which is to say that he will be born to the couple as Kapila Mahamuni. So thus he was married to Devahuti, and possibly some of the commentators say the first ever arranged marriage and foundation of Grihastha. And the couple were devoted to each other, and they were observing principles of dharma, artha, kama in balance with moksha as their ultimate goal. It is said in Bhagavatam that Kardama, when he marries Devahuti, he tells that there will come a time when he has to let go of Grihastha in pursuit of moksha, and that he has to take up Vanaprastha. So that was kind of understood even before the marriage. Both were kind of very spiritually inclined, and Devahuti was fulfilling the role of a housewife, and Kardama was leading the life of a householder in terms of taking care of responsibilities, and also in doing the kind of tapas. So it went several years, and there came a time when Kardama realized that Devahuti in her duties has forgotten herself and become extremely thin and frail, doesn't have that luster anymore. The glow is missing because she was very beautiful before she was married. And he said to himself, time has come that Devahuti needs to enjoy the very basis of the life of a Grihastha. So the story goes this way, that he asked her to go into the Nadi to take a bath, and the celestial beings come and ornament her and decorate her and bathe her. And the moment she comes out of the waters, she is glowing even more beautiful than she was when she got married. And thereafter, they both had spent several years of marital bliss. He created Vimana as well, and they would go all places. They had beautiful time and also had 9 daughters. Then there came a time when Kardama says, I guess you can say that Kardama is inexperienced in Grahastha. So he says, I'm going to now leave. I've done my job. He thinks he's done his job. And he says, I'm going to leave now and in pursuit of moksha. That is when Devahuti is given a rude shock of awakening. Oh my goodness, I was actually also thinking of the same, but somewhere down the line, I lost track of time. I got so kind of immersed in all the joys and duties of being in a grahastha ashrama. Oh, how did I even forget all that? But never mind. I'm sure you are supposed to go anyway, because at least good that you kept to the task and you have not forgotten. But having said that, don't forget that we have 9 young daughters, and they all need to be handed over to somebody else, handed in the sense they need to be married. So my suggestion is that you stay back until they get married, and then it's your choice where you wish to go. So Kardama stays back, and he understands that the responsibility has not been fulfilled yet. This is an important point to take note, because let's look at Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. I'm sure there are variations according to who describes how. Brahmacharya, okay, Grihastha, when it ends, the couple are free to let go of the Grihastha responsibilities and then enter into a stage of, let's say, forest dwelling. That is Vanaprastha, forest dwelling. And they just lead a very simple life without any mundane material responsibilities. Both wife and husband can do it together. And so that's how it is. But if somebody says that I'm done with Grihastha responsibilities, I'm going away, but yet the Grihastha responsibilities are unfulfilled, he or she doesn't really have the right to let go of them until those responsibilities are fulfilled. But at the same time, nowadays we are extending life in Grihastha. We are not entering into Vanaprastha. We are so reluctant because we continue to enjoy the material pleasures even when we are a 60, 70, 80. And that's really, again, not going to help, because at some point of time, the let go has to happen. Materialism, material pursuits, or material enjoyments have to give way to the spiritual way of living. So that balance needs to be brought back again into our lives, even if it is modern times. It shouldn't be any different. So anyway, Kardama understands that he has a responsibility to complete, and therefore he stays back. And all the 9 daughters are married, and they also have a son, who of course is Kapila Muni. And then Kardama says, "Okay, now I'm going," and he goes. And the story ends with basically Kapila having grown up as an able son. He is the one who actually he was the proponent of Sankhya Siddhanta, and Sankhya has almost like made the, you can say, it's a foundation for many other forms of philosophies, darshanas that we know of. And Devahuti had been his disciple, understood the workings of the cosmos, and then she attained moksha. So why do we want to know this story? Because one can really see that Grihastha is a huge responsibility. The Kardama can be considered as a pioneer in having showed us how Grihastha Dharma has to be practiced. He could have easily chosen not to enter into this Maya trap. He didn't need to, but he took it upon himself that it had to be done for the humans to be shown a way. I draw parallels with Rama's life here as well. I draw parallels with Krishna's life here as well, in the sense that they didn't when they incarnate, why do they have to take a human form? Why can't they just be a celestial being and do all those things that they are supposed to do, like dharma nirmulana and dharma stapana? But why did Rama have to be real human? I mean, a human who was experiencing emotions, a human who was experiencing the pain of loss of his beloved wife, or the pain of having to be exiled and losing his father in his absence. Why? That the ultimate reality is that it is a way to be among humans and show us an example, be an example, so that we make an effort to be as good a human as possible. If Rama chose to be a divine or a godly kind of a personality on earth, then he would be distinct from humans. And I think we would not consider ourselves to be reaching Rama's kind of standards. Similarly, Kardama didn't need to kind of be a human in that sense, or didn't need to go through all the pains and hassles of Grahastha Ashrama. He didn't need to be told off by his wife to be reminded of his responsibility. But he did that for the human welfare. So that needs to be understood in that context, rather than having to kind of find faults in these great personalities. Okay, so yes, so this is a beautiful story of love and devotion to each other, and conduct of worldly responsibilities while staying on the path of moksha. So let it be understood very well that even when we are grihasthas, the pursuit is always towards moksha, and Atma Vidya would be the way. Me realizing I am the Atman, and as Atman, I am that immortal self. Everything else around me is there for me to make use of, to only grow inwards and grow and make spiritually progress. But these responsibilities have to be worked upon with nishkama karma, so that I'm not attached to the duties in terms of the results, but I'm duty bound. So that can be extended to grahastha, where you are duty bound to perform all your duties without fail, but not worrying about the results. You can also be a sthita prajna, being a grahastha, where you're not carried away with emotions of success and failures, and it just naturally now you can see how it nicely falls in. You can use the example of swadharma as well, the principle of swadharma while you are a grihastha, and you even if your own dharma or swadharma is flawed, like for instance, if your family, let us say, is flawed, you are not letting go of it, but you are working with it to improve it. So you can see how numerous principles actually are very much practicable while you are a grihastha. Okay, so once entered, grihastha should let go of the adventurism that he may have had in the brahmacharya ashrama. I include this because I have come across several individuals who say they are reluctantly marrying. It's not a great idea. Please advise them not to have that reluctance. And why should there be reluctance is the next question. Because they're used to independent living. And what are the benefits of independent living nowadays? Because everything can be catered for. You don't need to be married like in the past. And the only thing is you don't have children. People don't care now anymore. Well, I don't need children because I want to have an independent life. No attachments, no responsibilities. So you would come across a lot more people nowadays who want to just stay in brahmacharya. But mind you, that's not true brahmacharya either. Because they would make sure that their biological instincts, the necessities for physical intimacy with opposite sex, they would continue to do those things without being married. And that's the modern way of living independently. That's not truly brahmacharya either. So there are differences, and we can see that you will have a lot more of this in the modern times, and that possibly is going to kind of distract people from entering into grihastha, or if they stay in grihastha, they are keen to continue their adventurism, whatever they had in brahmacharya. Another problem nowadays is that, not the problem, but the change is that, unlike before, perhaps a person is likely to stay in brahmacharya or not enter into grihastha until late 20s or perhaps early 30s. So in a way, their entry into grihastha is delayed by at least 1 decade. And if that is the case, as I said, biological needs are not going to wait for the person, and they will, they would end up utilizing all those kind of opportunities to, fulfill those even though they are not in the grihastha ashrama. And the second thing is, when a person is entering into grihastha so late in their life, they also possibly by then got so used to living independently that they find it difficult to adjust to another person coming into their life. And lots of hassles, lot of problems, and particularly the Hindu weddings are happening without an understanding of the marriage vows and the understanding of being the Atman, for instance. We'll talk about that a little while later. So there are huge challenges, and therefore, right understanding of Sanatana Dharma perhaps is going to help anyone who goes into Grihastha Dharma, Grihastha Ashrama, and perhaps premarital counseling is extremely important in every Hindu household for that reason. So we'll see some of the wedding mantras. And what does it say here? In fulfilling your purusharthas, we'll talk about purusharthas later, which are dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. In fulfilling your purusharthas, you shall not violate her, my daughter's role, says the bride's father to the groom, and in reply, the groom takes a vow to say, I shall not violate, which means that they both have to work as a unit, and they are a new unit. They have taken vows to be a new unit, working together, strengthening their new family unit, and come what may, they're going to stay together. Now, in Telugu weddings, this is how it is done. There is a jeera and jaggery paste that is put on the head of each other. And at the muhurta time, they're supposed to look into their eyes. So I think the mantra comes later on. But the reason I'm stating that is, nowadays, the photographers are the highlight of the weddings, not the bride or the bridegroom. It's the photographer who is the most important person. And the photographer, actually, I won't be surprised if he puts a camera in future in between them to get a beautiful shot of their God knows what. Okay, so these distractions are going to damage the relation for sure. Muhurta time, bride and bridegroom are supposed to look into each other's eyes without any distraction. And if these heroes, the new age heroes in the form of photography, come and displace the importance of the muhurta time, then one can expect that a lot more marriages are going to be on the rocks in future. So why? We will look at it. So similarly in Saptapadi, which is the 7 steps, the groom says, dear wife, we shall be friends. I will never let go of your friendship. We shall eat together, think together, decide together, lead our lives together, and shall enjoy the worldly pleasures together. And the wife says, we shall. So here you can see that everything has to be done jointly, and it's not about individualism. There are three words one need to look at. One is independence, another is dependence, and third is let's call it codependence, although it's not really dependence, but it's a new unit. We don't want dependence mainly because it's almost like I lose my personality altogether and I just dance along with the tune of the spouse. And that is pure dependence. And without them, some exclaim saying, "Oh, without you, I can't even take a decision, make a choice." And that's not great, is it? So that's not really love. That is almost like completely having given away one's own responsibility to take care of themselves. So that is dependence. Independence in a marriage is not going to be a great idea either, because then they'll say, I will eat separately, I will drink separately, I will lead my life of my own choice. Come what may, nobody is going to kind of stop me from doing that, and is not participating in the family unit. So that is the independence issue there. So it should be a mutually respectful relation where we still may be pursuing our individual interests, but it shouldn't be at the cost of the family unit. It sounds very simple and simplistic, but actually that's the reality. That's how it should be done. So if you look carefully, it is obvious that whoever follows the path of dharma would also respect and practice the marriage vows without fail. Such couples are content in their lives. They would also be able to raise their kids in a healthy, happy environment. And they face good and bad times together with equal emotional poise. A realization comes saying, my family is my priority. If in my family's welfare lies my welfare. So my family unit becomes my first priority, even ahead of my extended family. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And that is how it should be. But Grihastha goes beyond just this. So you can say there are four stages: Sanatana Dharma and self. We have covered that in understanding that I am the Atman. Sanatana Dharma, self, and family is what we have just now seen, where I'm fulfilling my role as a Grihastha in making sure my family unit is my priority. And then the next stage is Sanatana Dharma, self, family, and society. So, olden days, Grihastha had a great role in the societal welfare. How was it? Yatha mataram ashritya sarve jivanti jantavaha tatha grihastham ashritya sarve jivanti manavaha. So just as all creatures live under the loving care of their respective mothers, so do all the humans live under the care of grihasthas. So grihastha is not living a selfish life of me and my family alone. Grihastha is actually living a life of me, family, and society. So he is very much actively participating in the societal welfare. And that's a great way to understand our responsibilities. Modern life, yes, I have to say that modern life has become very much about self-centered practice, me, my family. But the societal aspect is missing completely. And that is where satsanga is going to be very important. We have to develop our own satsangas. We have to be active in societal units. And that is how we are going to practice Sanatana Dharma and promote Sanatana Dharma as well. Because ultimately we have seen what Sanatana Dharma is, the values. Yeah, so earlier I was talking about the wedding, right? So it's described this way. The bridegroom is, let us say, represents Paramatma. Bride represents the Jivatma. And the screen in between, a screen is held in between. And at the time of the Muhurtam, the screen is removed. The symbolic reference is that the screen which represents Maya, once the Maya is removed, me, the Jivatma, realize that I am nobody different to the Paramatma. We are the same. We are the same in the sense I then become I dissolve. I dissolve into that cosmic divinity, and that's exactly well represented here in the marriage ceremony. And that is the basis to say that the bride and bridegroom have spiritually become one unit. And therefore, in Sanatana Dharma, there is no concept of divorce. Divorce is an alien concept, which is incompatible with Sanatana Dharmic practice. Because in a marriage, both have become one through spiritual union. And how else? Muhurtam is when the bride and groom place the jeera and jaggery paste upon the Brahmarandra on the top, which is the frontal part of the head, and then they look into each other's eyes. So it is said that when they have placed the jaggery and the jeera paste, the energy passes through the Brahmarandra and it comes over through the Sahasrara Chakra. And when they both look into each other, the energy opens the Brahmarandra and the energy passes through the Sahasrara Chakra. And they thus become one, having looked into each other's eyes. So the energy then reaches the Agnya Chakra, at which moment the bride and groom are instructed to look into each other's eyes when they get attracted and experience a spiritual union. And once this is done, they are one. There is no question of separation. So hence, I have to say that divorce, as I said, is an incompatible alien idea. We can discuss this at a later time. One may claim that this is kind of cruel, possibly. Well, it doesn't matter. I'll tell you why later on. I'm sure it is logically understood by now why why it is incompatible, but we can talk about the consequences of it, especially if the spouse is cruel or is torturing the other spouse and the compatibility issues of the marriage and whatnot. We will have to talk about it in a short while if we can spare some time there. Okay, yes, we are going to spare some time there because we have a case vignette after this. So let's stop here and see what comments or questions we have on this particular topic of Grahastha.
Sir, very lucky to be a part of this session, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And I feel that even married people don't know these concepts, what exactly whatever the screen in between and everything stand for. Even some elders can't tell when we ask them. So this is a really enlightening session, sir. Very happy to be a part of this.
Yeah, thank you. Lot of work to do, and I hope to start some premarital counseling sessions for Hindu couples. I've been talking about it in every Sanatana Dharma webinar, but I'm hoping to get a breakthrough at some point of how do we do it. And that is where I'm having to kind of stop. How do we do it? How do we approach those young couples? And I keep mentioning this example over and over again, that in a Roman Catholic Church actually organizes premarital counseling quite effectively. And because I guess both bride and bridegroom have to register with the church for the wedding anyway. And because they have to register with the church anyway, they would all be given a date for the sessions. And actually, I watched a Malayalam movie in which they clearly show what's the content of the premarital counseling, and they talk about everything: the financial aspect, the marital physical relation part, all are discussed in it. And that's It's naturally going to be extremely beneficial to lay a foundation. But how do we do that in the Hindu context? I'm not too sure yet. There have been several ideas which people have suggested. I need to organize somehow. So, what about the idea that surely no Shastra has mentioned divorce? So, how do we come to terms with it now that divorce is so prevalent in Hindu community? A lot of divorces are happening. So, how do we come to terms with this idea?
Sir, related to that itself, can we change a character of a person when they are of not compatible or otherwise, uh, or in pure sense they are extremely evil, right? So can we change? And the thing is that is it's not just them, right? Right. Even the elders also might be supporting them. I mean, what they're doing, and they say that yeah, it's that that's how we are. Yeah.
Hmm.
So then how can you deal with it?
Hmm. Well, how do we deal with any individual in terms of changing an individual's personality? It's not easy to change an individual's personality. You can work with them, hoping that they would develop understanding of their flaws and have the patience to work with them, improve on the flaws. So that's one thing. Second is, I think you rightly mentioned about the interference by the extended family. Let's call it extended family because once a person is married, the husband and wife are the new family. That's the unit. So their respective parents become extended family. Their siblings become extended family. They have absolutely no right to interfere into this couple's lives and ruin it by any means. Unfortunately, having come across several of such situations, I clearly see that the spouses, because they have poor understanding of the Sanatana Dharmic way of building a family unit through Grahastha Dharma, because they have a poor understanding, they do not support the other spouse. Now, what do I mean by supporting other spouse? Let us assume that the spouse is not of a good nature, not of a good character. The temptation to leave the person has to be put in the back burner. It cannot be entertained. This is where Grahastha, what were the vows that we have made? Come what may, we are going to work together. Number one. Second, we know of the Karma Siddhanta. There is a reason why I have this particular situation in my life. I need to work on it. And the depending on how I respond to these challenges in a dharmic way, showing now you can see the application of daya, karuna, kshama. All these come into play. And if we are not actually leading a dharmic life, dharmic way of handling the situations, you have lost marks in your karmic question, karmic exam, because you are only interested in chickening out, escaping from the situation. And this is how it works out then. The forbearance, the resilience. In the olden days, we actually mock of people who have been putting up with nonsense. Why did they put up with nonsense? We can actually argue it both ways. They were actually putting up with nonsense because they didn't have financial independence, especially women. So if the husband was adulterous, he was actually having extramarital affairs and whatnot. Also, and the wife not only had been financially dependent on the husband, but also has several children to look after. So would feel compelled to stay back in marriage because there is no other option available. So that's one way of looking at it. And that's not a great situation to be in. And we don't want anybody to be kind of preached upon to say that you stay in that situation and put up with it, when actually there is so much of reluctance to do so. So that's the unhealthy way of unhealthy situation, and we can't be the persons to preach there. Now, what I'm not too clear about is perhaps divorce is not allowed, or divorce is not spoken of, but it doesn't necessarily mean that people can't lead separate lives. So if situation is so bad that a person has to leave and live separately, but maybe that is allowed. I don't know. But surely this is the way we need to understand. But on the other hand, what is also happening is, in the quest for independence, the opposite of it being that the independence actually brings in the whole aspect of incompatibility. It minimizes, it trivializes the whole idea of compatibility. So any little difference is seen as incompatibility. That guy snores, therefore I'm divorcing. That kind of a problem has arisen in modern times. So that is nonsense, basically. So those are what we are to see. We often talk about extreme cases a lot of times when we want to debate a particular point. Extreme cases are not common by nature. Extreme cases are extreme cases. Like, for instance, somebody is being beaten black and blue every day, and your life is at risk. Your initial dharma is to protect yourself. So naturally, just walk out of the marriage, fine. Nobody is going to stop you. So there, your dharma is to protect yourself, because you are the Atma Swarupan and you have a long way to go spiritually. You can't be just charred and burnt and cruelly kind of broken into pieces, right? So at the same time, it cannot be excused where the majority go out of leave marriages because of very trivial issues of incompatibility. That is not to be entertained. And that is where we have a responsibility to teach a lot more of the Hindu couples, why they have to understand wedding from a Sanatana Dharmic point of view, what is the Grihastha Dharma that they have to fulfill. We have a responsibility. Parents need to first understand before the children are married off. Children need to be taught. And when the children grow up, I think it's a good idea to tell them what is the right age to get married. And no kid is willing to listen about marriage, because it's just understood that if somebody talks about marriage, the immediate thing is, I want to study more, or I want to be independent for a little longer. That a debate has to be engaged. People have to debate, learn to debate. Parents are shying away from debating such points. Parents need to debate with the children. What do they mean by independence? What are they going to do when they have a sexual urge? I'll be very blunt. Will it stop? Will it stop at the age of 26, 27, 28, 29? It will come. They're postponing it. And they do funny things after that. Not all, surely, but it's to be understood. It has to be released, right? So what's the right age to get married then? And as I said, independence is such an interesting concept now. I can stay independent, which means I have a little fling, a relationship here and there that resolves my urge. So I'm not in a rush to get married. Biological needs are taken care of. Nobody talks about these things, do they? So this is real life right now, and we have to face it. We have to be mature enough not to be dogmatic. We need to be logical in how we explain, and at the same time, we shouldn't shy away from discussing and debating. It's not to be always assumed that the younger generation is always logical. They may have their own kind of preconceived notions, and it needs to be kind of there's nothing wrong in debating and redirecting them towards a particular position. So this is a long topic. It's a deep topic of discussion. Let's hope that we may reach out to the masses in addressing this issue.
Can I say a word?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Srivalli. I thoroughly enjoyed how you connected the Sanatana Dharma concepts which you were talking yesterday into the day-to-day Grihastha life. It was a very, very good comparison. And I think, as being in marriage for several years and raising kids, we as individuals could actually reflect all these happening in our progression of life. And I'm thankful it happened to me too. So it's amazing that you connected them and didn't make me feel like I'm just imagining. It's actually a true concept. If it works in you and you can see it in yourself that you're not the same as in 20s, now as 30 you're different, 40 you're different. Your kid gives you another feeling, and when they grow up, they actually teach you how to let go of them. And don't be panicked for your emotion of holding them all the time. It's amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I always vouch on those, and it's very nice to hear from a learned person to say that it's actually true. It's very, very good.
Right. Thank you for sharing your experience. And I'm not a learned person as such, but I pay attention to whatever I practice and whatever I see. Naturally, being in the profession of being psychiatrist and having counseled quite a few, it gives me firsthand account of the problems. Yeah. Right. Any more?
Which phase of life is Vanaprastha? Let's say in the modern.
Okay, in the modern context.
Yes. I understand Brahmacharya, Grihastha, and Sannyasa, but
yeah. So Vanaprastha and Sannyasa, you can say, let us mix them together for now, because in modern life, I guess it may not make much difference. In fact, I personally need to study more about how the ancients have practiced. So a lot of times in Bhagavatam stories, we hear of Vanaprastham and Sannyasam. Vanaprastham is, let us say, a life of detachment where you are away from the material relation to the world. So your responsibility, Grihastha is a huge responsibility, and Grihastha is seen to be a burden. Let me put it that way. But it had to be gone through. You have to go through it. It's like there are a very few who are allowed to go from brahmacharyam directly into sannyasa stage. For instance, Adi Shankara had to take permission from his mother to bypass the Grihastha Dharma. Otherwise, everyone is expected to go through Grihastha. But by and large, it is very well understood that the Maya trap is the heaviest in Grihastha phase. Example, we may all have been extremely naive and innocent and extremely well-meaning before we were married. Not that it is about marriage, but once you enter into the married life, the several things fall into place. You are working, you're actually earning money, you are enjoying certain pleasures, you are then giving rise to children, then you are actually getting attached emotionally to them. Lot of things change all of a sudden during the Grihastha phase. And these all bring in you various things which were unlike you before. You may become more greedy for earning more and more and securing more assets. You may become extremely possessive about spouse and children and whatnot, or insecure, more fearful. All these things start to come in because the Maya trap is the heaviest during that time. So one who is keen, or one who is aware of the philosophical part of it and wants to attain moksha, is eager to finish off the grihastha responsibility and then move on to the next phase. So you can say that vanaprastha is just the difference is that you have let go, you let go of those responsibilities and the pleasures and pleasure seeking behavior. You just removed yourself from it. You have handed over in the olden days, the responsibilities are handed over to the next generation, and you move out of the house, you enter into the forest. So the forest dwelling, vanaprastham, that is what it is. Sannyasam is completely into the phase of only spiritual quest, completely. So vanaprastha and sannyasa are almost similar, but vanaprastha, you can say, is a life devoid of the material kind of material attachments. So you can say grihastha minus material attachments could be called vanaprastha. But what are the material attachments? Everything, including even the family responsibilities. Sannyasa is very much a path in search of divinity. You're fasting, you're doing tapas, you're leading a life of austerity completely. Possibly you're just living on alms, like bhiksha, and that is the nature of sannyasa. So yeah, not much difference, I guess, in modern context, because we are not going to enter into sannyasa phase as such. We may possibly at least go into vanaprastha, and that will be a good change if we can plan our life at least according to that.
Now, can I say something?
Yes, please.
See,
Yeah.
there is some subtle way of looking at this aspect.
Hmm.
So I'll quote two examples. One is whatever is not in your heart, so in you, may not be reflected outside. So this can be put it in a way by which we can understand. See, in Abhijnana Sakuntalam drama, when Dushyanta went there, he saw the wild animals and the domestic animals. They are living together playfully, playing all the things. They are roaming around there. So that means the ashrama atmosphere is so serene and peaceful. Whoever goes there with any bad intention or violent attitude, also they change. So that means in a gruhastha, one partner is a very serene person. Say, for example, the other person also, her attitude changes or his attitude changes. So I'll give another example. Mahendranath Gupta is a headmaster. He has written about the Ramakrishna Katamratam, the Gospel of Ramakrishna. So he went to Ramakrishna Parahamsa, he sat before him, and whatever Ramakrishna spoke to the people coming there, he had maintained a diary, and later on he produced a beautiful spiritual conversations, which are a masterpiece by itself. So that is Ramakrishna Katamratam, and English translation is the Gospel of Ramakrishna. He had a problem in the house. He said his wife is against his wishes. She is preventing him to come to Ramakrishna Parahamsa. He raised that question. So when that comes, what shall I do? Shall I leave her? Or still shall I obey her and stay away from you? He said, he has given an example. Prahalada, he disobeyed his father to follow the God. So when whoever comes you in your pursuit to reach God obstructs you, you can overcome that. But you have certain responsibilities wherein you have to fulfill them. So like you have to protect your children, you have to get them educated, you have to protect your wife and give them livelihood, so many things. Okay. Then at the end, he said, if you are true to yourself and you do spiritual practice sincerely, she will change automatically. So he did that. She changed later on, and also, she also became a disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So the entire idea is, so if you develop spiritual atmosphere in the house, the marital relationships also become harmonious.
Yeah, that's true. But to extend it further, let us assume that the spouse continues to stay evil and doesn't allow this person to reach out to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. The understanding there is that you still have to first fulfill the householder's responsibilities. You may have to come to me only after that. So
Yeah.
I think that's the whole understanding of grihastha, the value of it and the responsibility. Even if you consider it to be a burden, remember the cognitive processing. Your heart is aching. It is uncomfortable. It is distressed because you are longing to be with your beloved Ramakrishna, and you are actually being subjected to a toxic antagonism. But yet you have to, forbearance has to be developed. Bear with it. Again, I bring the whole idea back in. It's great, having all these algorithms of Sanatana Dharma principles. So then you consider yourself, why should I waste my life? I want to run to Ramakrishna. I'll come what may, I'll let go of this lady. But then you have to remember, this life is only a tiny speck among your so many lives. You think that you can run away from this. If you run away, what's the guarantee that you will not be falling into the same trap the next time round? So let us not have that urge or the kind of impatience. Perhaps the lesson to learn in this life, having such a person as a spouse, is to develop the patience in you while you still continue to have that longing and love for the divine. Maybe that is the lesson.
Right.
Practice it well. Yes, practice it well and do the best you can. It could be that your spouse suddenly has fallen ill. It happened. I always quote this example, a beautiful example of a couple in UK when I was working there. The man developed Parkinson's disease when he was only 40 years of age. And by the time I was actually working as an elderly psychiatrist, so clinic had 65 above, patients over the age of 65 would come to me. So imagine 25 years at least. This lady was taking care of him from her prime young days onwards. And she had a word for me. She said, well, haven't I taken marriage vows that through thick or thin, I will be there for him? That's what I'm practicing, she said. So that's the power of it. So that's
good.
And she will be definitely, she is obviously on the right path of spirituality. Whatever be the religious background, somebody asked, can Christians and Muslims practice Sanatana Dharma? Why not? This is exactly what it is. Doesn't matter what you are as a background. This is the fundamental Sanatana Dharma that we all are supposed to practice. And just one point, Apurva, because I don't want you to get the wrong connection here. So it's not about running away from Gruhastha and entering into Vanaprastha by half-baked fulfillment of responsibilities. Now, the Gruhastha has to fulfill all the responsibilities, and then, yes, I'm done with it. Now I move. So not to be seen as like Kardama. That is where the Kardama's example is important. His earlier attempt to run away after having had 9 daughters was not liked by his wife, because she said, you have to stay back to get them married. So he understood. So you can see the difference. If he ran away, then he is not fulfilling Grihastha Dharma. But if he completed all the responsibilities and moved into Vanaprastha, he has all the rights to do so without having any hesitation.
But
In the modern day,
Hmm.
so in the modern day, Vanaprastha, we can take it as the retirement age of an employee, 60 years.
Yeah.
60 years, he can become Vanaprastha.
Yes.
75 years, he can become sannyas.
Yeah. So that's what I was trying to say earlier. Brahmacharya got postponed by a decade. So Grihastha also got postponed by a decade at least. So somewhere I was reading that Vanaprastha would be almost like after 45 onwards in the olden days. But now it's like 58 years or 60 years at your retirement. Yes, Apurva, you wanted to say something?
yeah, but I was wondering, where is the full stop to this Grihasthashram? For example, let's say my parents are nearing 60s. I am married. My sister, let's say after she gets married, is there responsibility done? But then there is grandkids. Then they do things for, like, help us in raising the grandkids and so on and so forth. And then I've also seen some people who are old, but they still think, okay, we are here for the kids. So when does Vanaprastha mean you have to disconnect completely with the family relationships, or
Ideally, I mean, I won't use the word disconnect from family responsibilities, but it's almost that, because any connection with the material world includes even family connections. So that is a possessiveness, that is the moha, that is the those are not going to be of see, your availability shouldn't be seen as the same as the longingness or the possessiveness or the obsessiveness. At least I can say that you are, let's say a daughter needs help, there is nobody else. You are coming to fulfill that responsibility, but still you are now no more attached to the grihastha responsibility, or at least should make efforts not to get obsessively involved and yet again get entangled into those material world issues. So it could be a fine line, but frankly speaking, as long as somebody is spiritually kind of inclined throughout their lives, they know extremely well how to make a transition from grihastha into vanaprastha. So let us not equate it I work until 60 and I retire at 60. It's not the same, because there is no spiritual inclination there. One who has moksha as the goal throughout, from brahmacharya, including even grihastha phase, they will understand the value of vanaprastha, because they were leading a life of vanaprastha even during grihastha, in that sense, because they were doing things because they had to be done, but they are not entangling themselves. So vanaprastha, if that is the practice during grihastha, vanaprastha becomes extremely easy. So yes, modern days, I guess, because our families are smaller, the units are small in size, we are having kids very old in our lives. By the time the kid gets married, we are already into 60s and so on. And there are different challenges here, but there is an obsessive preoccupation still for somebody living in the age of 70 and all, to be still enjoying those mundane aspects. So I don't know whether I can give you a clear answer in terms of where lies the responsibility for a vanaprastha, whether they should come back and fulfill the grihastha responsibilities. I will only argue it this way. As long as they have communicated well throughout, particularly to the children, we have fulfilled our responsibilities. It is your life now. We will be there if need be, but our life has moved into the next phase now. We are in the Vanaprastha phase. And that communication is important. If we don't do that, what's the point in this life? What's the point in this life? If we just, and the other thing is, do we really know whether I'm going to live another 5 years or 10 years? I may be dead the next day itself. So I can't postpone. I can't postpone my detachment from material pursuits. I need to have a point where I let go of it. Earlier, the better. So this is how it works. It may not be straightforward. I'm glad you asked that question. It's a very important question.
It is not the physical presence or absence. It is the mental attitude.
Yeah.
So you will be there, but you are not attached to them. You are thinking and other thinking spiritual mode of life and the God. So those are the things your attitude should change. That's all.
Very true. Perhaps the only thing I can say is, like, for instance, I'm part of one of the meditation groups, and we have an ashram near Anakapalli, where there are, we all have purchased plots around the ashrams, the meditation hall. That you can call is a Vanaprastha. It is away from your mundane matters. So you're away from everything, but when need be, I may still travel to get my pension or do something else. Modern life is a little different. Modern life means that sometimes I may still have to venture in for a few things, or go and make sure my kids are taken care of time to time, and then I come back and be blissfully involved in my forest dwelling in this ashrama.
Sir, so if that is the case, then
I can't hear you, Vamsi. Come closer to the mic.
oh, sorry, sir. So if that is the case, after Vanaprastha and you become really old, and somebody has to really take care of you. So in that case, do we expect our children to take care of us, or somebody to take care of us?
No way, not required.
That is
People
the
never
question.
bothered after that. Vanaprastha, you go there and you may not even, don't even return back to your grihastha dwelling. Why would you? You only do that if you're so worried and attached to your body. Problem nowadays is that, unlike olden days, if you had some serious health problem, you are gone there itself, done and dusted. Now people are not allowed to die.
No, sir. I have read so many stories of so many bhaktas that they were taking care of their parents, of old age parents. Because of that, they were not able to go to the pilgrimage. Then the God itself came to that village or to their home, and it became a very good shrine now.
Like Panduranga. I mean, again,
yeah,
I would think.
Yeah, and he, instead of doing Gruhastha Ashrama, the person, he's going on serving only his father. That's all he's doing. And the father not going to Vanaprastha, and he's becoming a total burden to the this one, to the son, right? So because everybody is doing the devoted devotion to the God and all that, the son is not able to do that, right? So
yeah. See, again, I won't be able to say whether that was common practice or whether that was an exception. So even if it was common practice, I'm not able to comment on it. The only thing I can comment on is the principle that we know of. So the principles are what I am narrating here. Variations will be there in society, especially over the period of time. So I can't be counting on the variations. I would rather look at the principle itself.
When a person is about 70 years and have to take care of their own parents or the in-laws, slowly, I think the need, suppose they felt they had to go somewhere, visit this place or that place or see. Slowly, that need to go and visit these places also decreases, I think.
Absolutely. It just becomes irrelevant.
Irrelevant.
But then,
Lesser.
see, these are the modern complications. Modern complications are that, especially in an Indian context, in the Western world, it is actually better. People are a lot more brave in letting their life go. They say, don't do anything. I'm not going to hospital. I'll just be happy where I am. I'll die. That's it. Don't even put a tube. Don't do a blood test. I'm not interested. And doctors respect it and let go there. They allow the person to die even in front of their eyes because that is dignity. Here, everyone is afraid. The patient wants to have the most care possible, resuscitate and do this surgery, do that, sell my house, all the assets, take a loan. Then the family also are very afraid. What do others think if we allow him to die? Because they will think that we neglected and allowed this person to die because we are stingy and don't want to waste our money. Doctors think that if in the hospital they don't do the necessary care, which means that everything until the minute, actually the final moment when they'll sigh the last breath, then the doctors and the hospital are negligent. Everyone is afraid.
We need more hospice centers
Absolutely. More
and
hospitals.
hospitals.
Yes,
We don't need more
I
hospitals.
actually have been asking this question. How many?
We don't have hospice centers in
We
India.
don't. 40, 50 years ago, I'm sure most people were actually dying in their homes, in their own beds.
That is
Now, 95% of the people die in hospitals.
hospital
Why?
beds.
Why?
Still want to survive
Everyone wants to survive. That itself is the answer that we are not practicing Sanatana Dharma.
Yes.
That let go.
Yes, sir.
That Vyamoha, that I am the body, that Vyamoha itself is not Sanatana Dharma. Now you tell me how many are actually practicing Sanatana Dharma, being in this great nation that we have.
In our childhood days, grandparents of our parents used to be there in beds, even though they can't physically have the strength. They used to wait for their end. Just on at homes, only at home. They used to wait for their time. Now that is not. We are not finding such a kind of.
So nowadays, you're right. In the Western world, palliative care is very much prevalent. Hospices are available. There is all the training given about dignity of patient, the dignity and the choices, advanced treatment plans, advanced directives are written. All those are to be taken into consideration when a patient enters into hospital. There is a discussion we have been doing on conservative management versus active intervention. Active intervention would have meant do come what may, you do it because I want to live. Conservative management could mean that do the least minimum to keep the patient pain-free. That's it, pain-free. So this is how, so if anybody asks a question, who in the world practices Sanatana Dharma the best? I don't need to give you an answer. It is obvious. Who doesn't practice Sanatana Dharma the best? The answer is also obvious.
Can I say a word here?
Yeah.
Applying and surrounding to the topic you were just talking, I'm a physician who practice in US, and I see acute patients and also sick patients and dying patients. So eye-opening experience as a physician and somebody who wants to think about Sanatana Dharma. And what really surprises me more on a day-to-day basis, just by hearing phone calls, is how much in India letting go a person, which could be your father, mother, brother, sister, padnana, chinnana, whoever it is, letting them go when they have a illness which really doesn't have any more treatment and we come to the end point. But still, even somebody who's hearing about Sanatana Dharma and our religion, our tradition, they are just not ready. And that surprises me, like, why? At that time, suddenly the people there turn their heads towards Western civilization and ask, okay, there is an answer there, let's go find it. When in your own civilization, which has been teaching you from the past 60 years. And no, I think letting go is so hard. And I hear from so many doctors in India, they are scared to tell their patients that, there's nothing here, we're done. But they don't, because acceptance should start from the caregiver. If the caregiver is not ready, the patient is not ready. So
they will move to another doctor.
Yes, they'll move to the other doctor. And unfortunately, patients are scared, obviously, about their end of life illness. I understand that. But then the kids, their surroundings, the sisters, brothers, whoever. So that's where I really feel that I remember several sessions ago, one of the participants asked, how can I teach my elderly who's not practicing Sanatana Dharma? And I can see that there's a difference. That's when I'm like, how come why are you twisting your head towards Western civilization when you have answers in your own? So many messages like, oh, this is a cancer. Can you please check what is the treatment in Boston? No, the oncologists in Hyderabad are perfectly capable to tell you it is treatable or not treatable. So that's when I do feel like, and as a physician and as a psychiatrist, I'm pretty sure you're not seeing those cases who are coming to say, how do I practice Sanatana Dharma at end of life or hospice? Because not any person to die. Dying is not allowed anymore.
Yeah. As I said to you, you're not allowed to die you are taken to hospital. You have to be kept alive. That's it. Tracheostomy, do what? Come may, oh God.
I think
even the doctors here are afraid of being beaten up by the caregivers.
Yeah, absolutely. That is there too. That is there too. So that's what I'm saying. Everyone is afraid.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to actually see the natural course of life, have the time to reflect upon why quantity of life, why duration, why the obsession about the duration of how long I live. What about the quality of life? But it doesn't mean to say that we don't respond to treatable options. We're not saying that we will not look at the treatable options. But the obsession to keep myself alive or to keep the loved one alive for as long as it's possible. Doctor, please do whatever you can. I want my mother to live. Maybe she is already kind of having so many multiple medical problems. What's going to happen? So that's anyway. So I didn't expect this discussion to last this long. There are few other important things to cover. So let me complete today's presentation with that is the Purusharthas part. Oh, forgot that we have this thing. We'll skip this, shall we? Maybe we'll skip this. And it's actually a good case vignette, but we can skip it for now. Okay, so Purusharthas, because we looked at Purusharthas when we were covering the Grihastha. Ultimately, moksha is the goal, and artha, dharma, and kama have to be fulfilled, with moksha being the goal. And what would I'm only going to put this in the context of our webinar, the topic, which is the bring out the best in you. So it's not an exhaustive review of the Purusharthas. So Dharma shows us the right path through which we understand our relation to self, family, society, environment, and universe. And we would also be able to assess our life journey and plan our future within the dharmic framework. Ideally, we should get guidance from a guru, or if not possible, we should learn to tune into our heart and follow it sincerely. So dharma could be of different types. We looked at Swadharma the other day, and then there are Samanya dharmas, the universal values, and then the mundane ones like the Sharira dharma and whatnot. The names can be given. Any dharma can be named. So not much else to say about dharma. It is but a framework for us to lead a life, a principled life, one can say. And artha, let's look at it as an earning an income is not against Vedic principles. However, it goes without saying that the means to earn should be as per dharma and the goal should be moksha. See, everything in this universe belongs to Paramatma. He is the actual real estate owner. So we are at best tenants using his belongings, and therefore should not feel attached to them. Including my own body, I'm actually a tenant in it. My house that I have built carefully, having brought in the best architect in the world, the land that I bought, all those are, they actually belong to, nowadays actually they belong to Waqf board, looks like, but actually the real estate owner is the divine. So we should earn just as much as is necessary for our stable life, and should also use our earnings for the welfare of society and nature. There is a beautiful Ishavasyopanishad shloka, which Ishavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatan jagat tena tyaktena bunjita maguda kasyachit dhanam. Yeah, I think that's how it goes. So basically it says that everything in this world is actually, it belongs to the divine Paramatma. Nothing belongs to you. So utilize that knowledge to not be attached to anything. So karma is, let us put it in this context, that our wishes and desires should be true to our swabhava, or one's own individual nature. We should learn to realize our strengths and limitations. Our desires should match those. There is no need for us to pretend or go against our swabhava and please others. Example, my neighbor bought a beautiful Mercedes-Benz car, and I look at him and I wonder whether why should I not have it? But my means don't allow it, my financial means. Nor was it ever my swabhava to hold on to some material, but because now I'm becoming competitive. So there's a mismatch there, isn't it? So our desire should be in keeping with interest of nature and society as well, and primarily desire should be in line with our goal of moksha. Needless to say, our use of senses and mind should match the goal of moksha. In summary, dharmic kama, dharmic artha, and dharmas, all these ultimately with moksha as a goal. And where do we practice it? Not in mountains or forests. It is in our homes as grihasthas, engaging ourselves in personal, family, societal, and universal welfare. And how do we develop the discipline to constantly practice it? See, we are naturally always going to be distracted. So therefore, satsanga keeps us in the loop. And that's where we can actually also help ourselves with Ashtanga Yoga. Meditation helps, and Swadhyaya, reading scriptures to get spiritual guidance. I would easily recommend Bhagavatam, a nice, easy way to read stories and Bhagavata Kathas, and also get the Atma Vidya concepts. By constant practice of all this, the changes we see in us is as good as moksha. Because people actually differ as to what moksha is. Moksha for some is a physical transportation from here to Kaivalya or the Vaikunta. For some, it is just dissolving into the thin air because you have completely absorbed yourself in samadhi state that you have. It's like a bubble which burst and it's now in the thin air. Or for some, it is actually the best of you, the best that you can achieve in terms of your transformation as a human. That itself could be moksha. Our tastes and preferences change. We develop an inclination to live close to nature over a period of time, and we appreciate art forms, and we value everything as divinely beautiful. So the last part of that would be yoga, which is nothing but me merging with the divine. And there are several paths. See, unfortunately, nowadays, people, when they convert into another religion, some may say that I'm fed up of idol worship and all this doesn't make any sense. So I want to convert. Well, you don't need to convert. You can just stop Vigraha Aradhana. You can move into Nirakara Rupa form of reaching the divine. But people don't know this. Neither are we equipped to explain in this way. So you don't like Vigraha Aradhana? Okay, just meditate and contemplate on the divine within you. You don't like that? Okay, do good, good karma, follow the selfless kind of karmic practice. That should be good enough. So we can actually kind of help people. It doesn't need to be just a one-way traffic out of Hindu fold. Moksha karana samaghyam bhaktireva gariyasi swaswaroopanusandhanam bhaktiritya vidhiyate swatma tattvanusandhanam bhaktirityapi apare jaguhu. Of all the paths for liberation, bhakti is the supreme, but of all the paths, bhakti is the easiest. But why bhakti? Bhakti is ultimately the highest form of contemplation on the truth. Even Adi Shankaracharya says this. Atma Jnana Vichara is therefore supreme bhakti as per Shankaracharya. So bhakti can be external in terms of devotion towards an external manifestation in the form of a vigraha or a form like an avatara. Or it could be very much Advaita way of bhakti, where you are devoted completely to the all-pervasive cosmic divinity which is within you as well. So Atma Jnana Vichara can itself be supreme form of bhakti. And Krishna Paramatma says, Jnani is the highest bhakta, he says. Now interesting, isn't it? So we see different ways of even understanding bhakti yoga. It doesn't have to be, but of course, I would still think that having a bhajan, having a discourse, katha shravana, all those are a lot more easier ways of being in bhakti. But where a person is able to transcend all that and contemplate on the divine through jnana itself, through the constant understanding of Atma Vidya. For instance, Sankhya Yoga talks about constantly reminding yourself of the Atma Tattva. So that is also bhakti there. So if we are able to do that, perhaps that's going to be the best. But if not, at least staying in bhajan, staying in Nityanama Sankirtana. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Shivaya Namaha. Something like that, whichever comes to you in a Nityanama Smarana or Bhakti Ganam. Sing in a melodious way. Practice bhajans at home. Develop that atmosphere. Or have that Katha Shravana time, like how we read the bedtime stories to children. Inculcate the habit to talk about these things when they are very young. This is all very important. That is why we have so many art forms in India. Everything has an art form. Through Natya, we actually are respecting the divine through devotion. Through Sangeetam, we are actually respecting the divine. Through drama as well. Whatever form you take, It is ultimately, in fact, it is beautifully said that what is the use of having an ear? An ear is nothing but a fold of skin, it says, if it does not hear to the divine words. An eye is nothing more than a bulb of flesh if it doesn't actually see the divine form. And a mouth is nothing but a drum, like a drum, which makes a sound, a meaningless sound, if it does not utter the words of the divine. That is our understanding, how we use our senses, to constantly be in remembrance of the divine, and that is Bhakti Yoga. So we have to make efforts to do that. Mattaf parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam plotam sutre maniganaiva. Because there is nothing higher than me, O Arjuna, because everything rests in me as beads strung onto the thread. So it goes like that. There are actually a few more slides on this, but I will end here because I think it's not necessary that we cover everything. I think this is one slide I may just complete with. So Ashtanga Yoga has 8 limbs, right? So Yama and Niyama is how we externally manifest our universal spiritual values through right conduct. Ishvara Pranidhana, it says, Asteyam, Ahimsa, all those are qualities we externally manifest in terms of how we conduct ourselves. And from asana until samadhi, it is all an internal process of how I first get to sit myself in a posture comfortable for me to meditate upon, then get my breathing regulated through pranayama, pratyahara, where I withdraw my senses so that my mind is no more distracted, and that is then I focus on something divine, that is dharana, and I stay in a long duration of that, which becomes dhyana. And when I dissolve myself into oneness, that is samadhi. So these are all important concepts that I rushed through in the end. But the 4 effective principles of practice. I think it was important to spend a lot more time on Grihastha Dharma because that is where I need to convey my messages. And the rest, of course, are very well known to everyone anyway, the Bhakti Yoga and all that. All right, so let's have a few minutes for any questions, comments, and then we'll meet again next weekend for day 10. Yeah, as
Just one
expected.
observation.
Yes.
It is good to have a guru if you really get one, and whom you can help, who can help you to in all these pursuits. But to get a guru is, they say you need not search for a guru. The guru will come looking for you. And I have people around me. Of course, I have not been able to find one. But I have people around me, my own sisters, who are very much in peace with themselves by having a guru and following him to various places for bhajan and for various celebrations like festivals. And they are in peace. That is also, we are lucky if you are able to have one.
Yep. Yes, of course. But I think just to say that a guru will come to us, I think we should also lovingly look for one. And maybe there will be a meeting point. I know somebody who was on the look for a guru, a classmate of mine, a medical classmate of mine. He went various places in search of guru, And his story is interesting. He actually got a name of a particular guru, and he went and met that person, and that person happened to be a different guru. He did, but that's destiny. So he went and he thereafter became a disciple of this man.
Happened to me also in that way, sir. I was in search of the guru. Then it happened that I heard in the office something that about someone talking about something, and I came there and then I got guru. Of course, he left his body in 2007, but we have guru. We can follow him.
Nice.
See, in pursuit of guru, you may land up in a false place. Like we say in Bodha Guru, Badha Guru. Badha Guru is one who extracts money from you or favors from you and exploits you. But you have to be careful. And really, he is a valued person. You have to judge before accepting him as a guru.
Yeah.
So, but you are, if you are.
I guess until the time we find the right guru, we should have the viveka. We should utilize our viveka very well. But once we have find the guru, then we need to surrender completely. Yeah.
Mahoday, yesterday I was asking a doubt, and my network got off. Signal went away.
Yeah.
Swadharma, is that
others can leave if you wish to? Yeah.
Is that native profession, or what we call actually Swadharma, like human, our Sanatana Dharma, part of it, dharma, human nature of Dharma, or
what is your understanding?
Mine is the one which is which gives you a happiness in your profession or anything you practice. That is your Swadharma, I feel. Like if you have one family is there, their basic profession is something,
Kulavrutti. You're talking about the Kulavrutti.
That's what, native profession. That's what. That is not any Swadharma, I feel.
Why can't it be?
Yes, nowadays all people are not practicing that one, and they're moving to different professions. Still, they have their Swadharma. As a human being, what they have to do. But not.
So what ultimately dictates whether something is Swadharma or not?
That's what my doubt is.
I don't think we will get honest answers, frankly speaking, because if you look at Mahabharata, by then the Jati system has already kind of become extremely well placed. So Jatis were already there, Kulavrittis or Jati Vrittis were already there. So in that context, if you look at Bhagavad Gita and Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Gunakarma Vibhagasaha, okay. So according to Guna and Karma. So if that is the case, there are 4 Varnas. Actually, we'll talk about it on day 10. What is the difference between Varna and Jati? Varnas are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Most Kulavrittis or the Jati Vrittis come under the Shudra Varna.
Yes.
So your carpenter, plumber, electrician, let's say nowadays, yeah. So most of them come under that. So if we look at the societal manifestation, I take it this way that Varna is something which a person will see in any part of the world. So if you take a company has to have a thinker, a creator. Somebody created a great idea. And then he pitched that idea to a few people. So they came and invested. And then they built the company. They had a workforce. and they had about 10 or 12 leaders, and they had 1,000 workers. In that also you see the 4 varnas. The guy who created it is the Brahmana or the thinker.
Invested in
Invested in Vaishyas. The leaders who were leading are the Kshatriyas, and the huge workforce, 90% of the population in that company is Shudras. You can't therefore wish away Varna. So I think if we'll be dishonest with ourselves if we say Varna is not part of the cosmic design. It will be part of cosmic design. Wherever we see, they will be. Like for instance, there is a honey bee, honey bees, there is a queen bee, and there are worker bees. Even there is a distinction there. So if we are honest to ourselves, then we should accept that Varna system is part of it, part of Sanatana Dharma. We can't be apologetic about it. But then the Jati system is a societal manifestation, and relevance needs to be seen. If it is no more relevant, then why hang on to it? For instance, in the olden days, when somebody had always been a handloom, the Cheneta, Karmika, and now none of them are practicing it because there are machine looms and whatnot, power looms and all that, let us say. So they are doing some other job, but they hold on to the name of the caste, the Jati, or they may actually kind of only marry within that particular Jati. Does it make any sense anymore? In the olden days, it made sense because they were keeping the same tradition going. Now, for what reason are they marrying within the same Jati? It doesn't make any sense. So they can actually marry somebody else, or in fact, the new Jati could be that if he is an army man, if he is his new Jati is a Kshatriya.
Okay.
So there is no relevance anymore of Jati system in the modern times, but we are holding on to it. Why are we holding on to it? Because there is a political connection to it. People get reservations out of it. Politicians won't give up dividing Hindu society. Hindu society has to be divided to get votes. So politicians won't let go of Jati system. They will nurture it. That's why you have various corporations now, caste corporations in Andhra Pradesh. Because you're divided so that your strength, ultimately, if you realize your unity, then they won't have their days. So there are other reasons why Jati system is prevalent still, but it is of no use.
So
But Varna system, Varna, you can't wish it away. Varna will always be there, come what may. This is my understanding.
So Swadharma is in this category of
Swadharma is not necessarily, I think, the context of Swadharma. Just because Krishna mentioned Swadharma in the context of a battlefield, he mentioned about you are a Kshatriya, how can you think of leaving your Swadharma there? If he mentions Swadharma in the context of something else, maybe he could have given other examples too. So a lot of people argue that Swadharma is nothing but Varna Dharma, sticking to one Dharma of that particular Varna. I don't find sense in it because I see its application everywhere and anywhere. So Swadharma, in that context, was given in the context of Varna, but you can't just only limit it to the Jati, Vritti kind of a concept. It is beyond that as well. Yeah.
Sir, if I may, actually, I have opinion about this. So, like, I take the example of a doctor when he's actually going for a surgery.
Yeah.
And he might be operating on his daughter, let's say, or his kith or kin. So he may feel some emotional disadvantage there.
Yeah.
And he might feel the same kind of emotional baggage that Arjuna might have felt while going for war. So but still he has to do his Swadharma, right? So I believe it is contextual rather than bringing it, extending it to all this caste, religion, or jati system. So I think it is more situational and contextual.
Yeah, I guess there are two things. Him operating his own daughter, Krishna, just as he says, everyone, you're actually only seeing the external Sharira, but we are the same. Within that, we are the Atman. So there, if he sees himself not operating on the daughter, but just a body, and then that fear isn't going to be there. So the one is the aspect of fear of my blood relation, just like how Arjuna said, how can I kill my blood relations? I know these people. So for the doctor, I know this patient who is actually my daughter, I can't operate, versus any other patient. So there is a difference. One is that. Second, as you said, is the Swadharma, but that's the second point, whereby I want to run away now. I don't want to operate at all. Then you are right in saying he is running away from Swadharma. Here, the context is only of that particular individual. But yeah, definitely related in that sense. So his Swadharma is that he has to operate. He can't run away from it, and he has to operate. You are right.
And similarly, sir, in being a father, let's say if he's raising a family and he has to educate his children, and if due to some reason he's not able to pay the fees for his children, and he's trying to run away, so this is also again it is his Swadharma to carry out the well-being of his or her children.
So how is it again? So he has to pay the fees, but he's not paying the fees.
He's not able to due to some reason.
Not able to is he doesn't have the means to pay.
Yeah, but maybe he's like
capable
in or he's not actually he's not doing his Swadharma.
Putting in the effort.
Yeah, he's not putting in the effort, and in that way he's not doing his Swadharma.
Yeah, I mean, we can extend it to everything and anything, but here he is also pretty lazy, right? Is not fulfilling his potential. As I said, yeah, you can extend it to it, but in what way is he failing? He's failing in more ways than one. He's also possibly, yeah, maybe you can say Grihastha Dharma is his Swadharma. This is more like a Grihastha. He's not fulfilling the role of a Grihastha there.
Yes, sir, exactly.
So that's the Grihastha Dharma there. So not everything, therefore, has to come under the one Dharma. You can name everything. I can say that because I am right now teaching, therefore it's a teaching Dharma. Every Dharma can be named according to the context. So Dharma in itself doesn't have to be categorized only under few things. Yeah. All right, we'll close it for today. Right. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkhavat bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Okay, see you all then next week. Bye-bye.